We have a dear friend of ours who's an avid hunter who actually just ended up having to lose his leg because of a medical situation. And my husband and I, one of the first things I said is, I know the right people that can help us figure out how to get him back up and hunting again when he's ready. And so I hope you know what an impact what you're doing is having on the community as a whole. Even people that think it doesn't apply to them, you never know.
It's so nice of you to say. And, Mike and I will do everything we can and get him back up and out in the outdoors because it's a challenge mentally as well as physically. But for a long time, it took me a great deal of time to wrap my head around getting back outdoors. And when he's ready, we'll be there for him.
It's one of those things. Me and Greg have talked about it in the past. I'm sorry to hear about your friend and being in that situation. It just seems like the way of the world is that if we're not in the situation of me and Greg, soon somebody will be.
Yeah.
I tell people when we're talking about advocacy, it doesn't matter if you're in that situation. We're all heading towards wheelchairs of some sort or a walker, God willing, if we live long enough. So
Amen.
let's work on the advocacy part of it while we can.
Yeah, I love it. And again, I just really appreciate you guys bringing me into the fold and allowing me to help you with what you're doing.
Oh man, thank you. We truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate it.
Welcome to the Accessible Hunter podcast. I'm Greg Trainer along with my co-host Mike Hudson, and we are truly blessed today with a woman that I've been following on not only Instagram but Facebook for quite some time, Cathy Holman from Prairie Wife in Heels. How are you this morning, Cathy?
I am doing good. It is not negative 30 here in Wyoming, so it's already a win.
Well, right. Definitely. Mike, how you doing this morning down in South Carolina, buddy?
Man, we're doing a lot better. The weather has gotten warmer. I'm sure we're a lot warmer than Wyoming, but man, we've been getting rain and it's slated to rain for the next 5 or 6 days. So I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Literally.
Right.
Guys, I was thinking this morning just how lucky we are. Using technology, you got a guy in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hosting a podcast with a guy in South Carolina, and we're talking with a woman in Wyoming, that does podcasts and MCs and travels all over the country. I mean, I would never even imagine doing this, 25 years ago.
Right.
Next month, I'm celebrating my life or, realizing that I've been a quadriplegic 25 years next month. So a lot of things have changed, and we're taking advantage of the opportunity to talk with people, not only around, the United States, but people can listen to this all around the world and comment, and we learn from each other. So thank you both for doing this with me. And, we're going to have an exciting adventure this morning.
We are.
Absolutely.
And thanks for having me. I just hope you guys know the strength that you give to others and the education that you're doing. I know on my platform, I always say if I helped one person, then my job is done and it was worth all the time and effort. And I know just through following you guys right back, I'm kind of fangirling a little bit. I admit it that I just appreciate what you're doing and how you took your story, and through sharing it, you're helping teach, educate, and support others. I just think it's amazing.
We truly appreciate that. And that's what it's about. None of us volunteered for some of the situations we end up in. I tell a lot of guys, I volunteered for a lot of things in my life. I didn't volunteer for the chair, but God didn't ask my opinion, and off we go. And, that's what it's about. Life goes on. Let's just learn to live it and do the best we can. And you're right, Cathy, if we can just reach one person, that's a bonus.
Amen.
Cathy, you had to make some hard choices, some hard decisions several years ago. And would you feel comfortable about, talking with us today and kind of telling a little bit about your story, introducing yourself? And, I appreciate you coming on and talking with us.
Yeah, sure. And Mike, I think you summed it up right there when you said we don't ask for the situations we're put in, but we are, I think, given the grace and the strength, the grit and grace, as I like to say, to handle them. And that's exactly what happened to me. My sister and my mom were both diagnosed with breast cancer, and my sister was incredibly young. She was 38, which meant that my risk then, it was more of a question of when are you going to get breast cancer, not if. And I had that conversation with my doctor when I was actually pregnant with baby number 5. I have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. And at the time, I kind of just, didn't really think about it. And then the baby was born and I was sitting there for our checkups, as you do, you've got the new baby and we're making sure everybody's good. And it was presented to me that I had to do something. And as far as I was concerned, I wanted to make the choice that would offer me the best opportunity to be there for my kids.
Right.
To be there as a partner for my husband and to raise them as long as possible. So I made the choice to have a preventive mastectomy, which is a mastectomy you have before you have a cancer diagnosis. And my thought was, I know I'm going to have to fight cancer, so I'm going to throw the first punch.
Right.
I'm not just going to stand there and be a victim. I'm going to try and do everything I can do. So if the worst case scenario happens, I can say I tried.
Right. Right. And that, that's one of the things that's got to be difficult, because here you got a new baby, you got a family, you're trying to figure it out, and the diagnosis is going to come at some point. So it's tough choices we make. We try to figure out what's the best quality of life that we can give. But did you get a lot of kickback from the doctors just having this new family? Did they give you a lot of kickback on jumping straight into surgery?
Yeah, so we made the decision. I normally nurse my babies for a year. My kids are all 2 years apart. So I nurse them for a year. I give myself a 3-month break and then the next one's on the way. And so it was very important to me that I had as long as possible to nurse my daughter. I did wean her at 9 months so that we could go ahead and get that surgery done because it really was a clock ticking situation. My immediate doctors were 100% on board. And then I actually ended up going to Denver for care. I'm sure maybe that's something you guys deal with as well. The best doctor isn't always the closest one. And Wyoming, especially, we struggle having medical professionals that can meet our needs. There are hundreds and thousands of people that travel to Salt Lake City or Denver for their care because Wyoming is just so rural. Our biggest city has about 50,000 people. So to try and find an expert that can meet your needs and is excels at their field, a lot of us have to travel. So I went to Denver for all of my surgeries to meet with the surgeons, and all of them had the same attitude as me. This is something you need to do so you can move on with the rest of your life. Let's do it now while you're young, while you're healthy. And they were great about kind of fitting it in around what I wanted to do for my daughter, while also having realistic expectations of how terrible would it be to wait and then you go in for your MRI before the surgery to make sure you're clean, to make sure you don't have any cancer that they didn't notice, and then to find out you waited too long. So they did have a sense of urgency. I did have one oncologist say, "Why are you doing this to yourself? You're perfectly healthy." And my whole point was, I would like to stay that way. And then that obviously wasn't the right doctor for me.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
Cathy, I don't think people realize sometimes how difficult it is to travel out of state. You have
4
a
hours
family. Yeah, exactly. You
one
have your
way.
family in one state. You're, undergoing surgery in another. How long were you in recovery in Denver? Because this is a pretty huge surgery to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for people that really want to do a deep dive into this, at prairiewifeandheels.com, I have a whole tab that's dedicated to a preventive mastectomy because, as we all do, I Googled, right? Like as soon as we made the decision, I went on Google, and everything I found about mastectomy surgeries, which is the amputation, because that's what it is, not to get into the weeds here. They're amputating and taking all the skin from your collarbone down all the way to your armpits. It's gone. Again, don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but that's what it is. It's an amputation. They're taking all the tissue, everything out, all the fat. And it was all women in the 60 plus crowd. It wasn't people that had 5 kids under the age of 8. And I was just adrift. You can't hold. Backtracking a little bit, it's actually 3 surgeries. So your first surgery is the mastectomy, which is the amputation part. If you do not choose to have reconstruction, if you don't want plastic surgery to try and look normal, I don't know a better term for it. I mean, I do, but I'm not going to take the time. We're not going to be totally politically correct here on that. So then you're just done. You're just stitched up, you're flat. I'm sure you've seen pictures, or maybe you know someone in your life that chose to do that. If you choose to have reconstruction, it can be anywhere between 2 and 4 more surgeries after that. So I was 35. I decided I wanted reconstruction. So I had the first surgery, the mastectomy, and then they also put expanders in, which go under the muscle. So you can make room for implants, which go in the second surgery. And then the third surgery I had is, when you have an implant in, but there's nothing covering it, fat or anything, it just looks really wrinkly and it doesn't look great. So they took some fat from other parts of my body and put it in to just kind of try and make it look normal. You're never going to look normal. That's you're never going to look the way that you did. For some people, that's a good thing. For some people, that's a bad thing. And that's something that I really used my platform for, was to share pictures, to have that open, honest discussion, because you have women that say, oh, I had this surgery, but when I turn to the left and lift my right leg up 20 degrees, it looks terrible. Well, honey, your real ones probably didn't look that great either. Like when you did that too, So just that whole realistic expectation, which I'm sure you have had those conversations with your doctor too. What can I realistically expect for the rest of my life? What is this pain threshold going to be? Is it normal? I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to hurt for the next hour and a half. And fine, if it is, tell me. So I used my platform to kind of share that whole entire journey. So back to the recovery for the first surgery, which is the mastectomy, the amputation, the second surgery where they put the implants in, for 3 weeks afterwards, I had to have T-Rex arms. And you can't lift anything over 25 pounds, which meant I couldn't hold my kids. So I went to physical therapy as soon as I was cleared so that I could start using my arms again. For me personally, the thing that shocked me the most was how long it took for my body to get back where it was. It didn't really occur to me that they were slicing through all my pectoral muscles, not once, but twice. And I didn't realize how much of my movement and strength was impacted by that. So this is something I'm sure you guys deal with. Access to public restrooms. Those doors are so heavy. And I literally could not, because of between the arms and the stitches and the pain, for months. And I actually got stuck in the public restroom at the rest area outside of Cheyenne. We were traveling back from my first surgery and I went in to use the restroom and my husband went in and then he went back to the car and I couldn't get the door open and there was no one else in there. And so
that's not to knock on it, but that's just another reason why we need more push buttons on the bathroom doors. It's not always about the person that's in there now. It's the person that's coming alongside. What happens if you got a handful of kids and you just need to bump the button? I mean, come on, guys, we can do better than we're doing. But
it was never thought of it, right? Like you said, you never think about it until you're in that situation. And I couldn't even, because of the way your muscles work, I couldn't like push down on soap dispensers. It probably took me 2 years before I had enough strength to shut a window.
Wow.
And like I was active, I was healthy, I did all the physical therapy, but it just like that motion and cleaning the table, pushing down to wipe off the table, never thought about it. Never thought about it in my life.
No.
But then
and that's
right.
That's the crazy spot. You really do not understand the kinesiology of how our bodies move. And when we tweak one muscle, it throws everything else into a tizzy. And then we're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy. I never would have thought all of that going into mastectomy.
Yeah, you just think, the emotional part of seeing things look different. And you think about, okay, like it hurts and you've got stitches, hundreds and hundreds of stitches, but there just were so many things. And then another impact for me being an outdoor person and living in Wyoming, so when you shiver, your muscles clench, right? So I only have implants underneath my muscles. And so to shiver for me is so uncomfortable and painful, like so uncomfortable and painful because it's just tensing and it's terrible. So and because you remove all the fat, I get cold so easy. I'm like an 80-year-old woman, guys. Like if I don't have a cardigan, Or like my car has like 20 hoodies. There's 3 extra jackets in there because I can't do it. I cannot do it.
You're
Cat,
not going to hear any complaints out of me and Greg. We stay cold. We've done podcasts on this thing, and me and him are both in wool hats, and we're in the house, and it's like, this is ridiculous.
Right?
Cathy,
Right? It's just
when you were talking, Mike and I were both shaking our heads
Oh
because
yeah,
we're both wearing our good ball caps because we just took off our wool hats
yeah,
prior to
exactly.
this.
yeah.
And as quadriplegics, we can't regulate our body temperature, so the heat bothers us, the cold bothers us. But when you talked about the painful shivering, that's a real thing. I mean, I get so cold that my arms start to pull up and I'm unable to drive my wheelchair.
Mhm.
So that's another thing people don't think about is the external temperatures, how they affect, people with disabilities in a negative way in so many different ways.
And here's me filing that away. We were talking before the podcast of a friend of mine who now is going to benefit from what you guys do and what I can learn from you. And I'm filing that away to remember for him when we take him hunting. Even if it's 50 degrees and nice out, we might need to make sure that we have those extra layers. So we're helping the world, guys.
Yeah.
It's good information to have because I freeze quite regularly, even in the fall. It's a process to stay warm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cathy, you mentioned about being outdoors, and I've watched your hiking pictures, and did being outside and participating with family, did that help you in your recovery? Just living in Wyoming and all the adventures that you go on, how did that benefit you through all this?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, right when I made the decision to have my preventive mastectomy, I had just had my 5th child, and where my kids are all 2 years apart, it was just a decade straight of like babies and diapers and no free time, which I'm not complaining. Like I love it. I made that choice. I love being a mom. But with the surgery and kid number 5, we decided we were done having kids. So there's a couple of factors that then went into that. Before then, I loved living in Wyoming, and we live on a dirt road. And to get out of the house, I would walk my kids and the dogs up and down the dirt road. But I was actually never a hiker, never had been snowshoeing, and never had been skiing before my surgery. So when I had the surgery, between the needing to have something to focus on and to have some goals, and just the fact that I knew that we were kind of saying goodbye to that always having babies around part of our life, I set the goal for myself to run a half marathon and
Good
train
for
for it.
you.
Never having done anything more than 3 miles in my life. But I needed something, right? Like, okay, I have to learn how to, do this again and move my arms again. And I have to push past this pain again so that I can focus on this goal. And along with that, to train for it, I'm going to hike. Like I'm going to just hike once a week. So that's actually, this surgery is what prompted me to become, I had never hiked before. There's a mountain 20 minutes from my house that, if you follow me on social media, I'm up there like once or twice a week. I was just skiing there earlier this week. Had never been on that trail almost decade that I had lived here. And it was just
Hey,
right there, right? So
right.
that truly, I think, is what kept me going, because there were so many days when I had to take a break after 1 minute of wiping the table, and I was tired, and I hurt, and I had a lot of nerve pain, like excruciating nerve pain for
Right.
years. And anytime I would do something new, a new workout or go an extra half mile, I would just be so sore, because I also have donated tissue that's stitched through to hold everything together, and it's stitched into my armpits. So
Right.
to like just the pain and the soreness, and just, okay, like this is going to get better, but I got to keep going. I got to keep going. And that's just really, these goals are that goal of the half marathon. And then I decided I wanted to climb Pikes Peak, which is 13 miles up, and it's a 14,000, and it's one of the hardest ones to do, because go big or go home, baby, which I know we're going to talk about.
Right.
Another thing I just did that was a go big or go home
Oh yeah.
situation. And then I started snowshoeing, and then I started skiing, and all of it stems from that surgery and needing something to look forward to. But also, and I feel like you guys can relate to this, you learn a whole new level of mental grit and fortitude when you're dealing with
100%.
physical pain every single day, all day long and you're not quite sure what the end result is going to be. And I think that mental fortitude really gave me this mindset of like, how much more can I go? I've felt this before and I've made it through. So how much more? And then as a parent, I've taught my kids that. And we really talk about that a lot. All 5 of them, even the girls, are wrestlers. But we also hike and go in the backcountry and ride horses and do all the Wyoming things. And when they're whining and complaining, and as they do because they're teenagers and kids and human, we bring it back to, hey, I know this is hard now, but I'm not going to put you in danger. I'm not going to put you somewhere that you can't finish. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about how you're feeling now that you're done. So next time you recognize that I want to stop feeling and you know you can push through it and get to the end. And I think that's what a lot of people in our culture are lacking. And I think hunting teaches you that because you have to have patience, you have to have grit, and it's not going to turn out the way you want and half the time. So I just kind of think it all goes hand in hand.
You know, you hit the nail on the head. I was in the Marine Corps, and that was one of the biggest things is, you
Thank
learn
you
to
for your
suffer.
service, by the way.
Oh, no. I was just saying, our bodies will go, they're so much more resilient than people give it. Right. Psychosomatic kicks in, and so many people give up on themselves when we can go so much further. The outdoors, like you said, it really brings everything into perspective. Our injuries are going to be there. We can't do anything about that. But if we just keep pushing, I hashtag that a lot. Just keep pushing. We can go so much further than we give ourselves credit for.
Yep.
And that was one of the biggest things in the Marine Corps is we learn to suffer in silence. It's
Amen.
going to get to a point, and we use this terminology a lot. It's a little crass, but it says embrace the suck. It's
Oh,
gonna
amen. That's
suck.
not crass.
It's
That's my mantra, man.
Wait, hey, it is what it is. It's gonna suck. Embrace the suck. Enjoy it. Uh, excel in that moment. So if you're cold, wet, and hungry, embrace it because everybody around you is cold, wet, and hungry. Stop complaining about it. Use that as fuel and just suck it up. Show everybody that you're gonna be the king of the beast in the middle of this suck fest. And
Yes.
just own it, love it.
You 2 guys are making me feel like quite the slacker. I mean,
Whatever.
you guys are Marine Corps marathon, half marathon, embrace the suck, and I'm like, I'm just trying to make it to lunch most days without breaking down.
Hey, that's a victory right there. And if you don't think the 2 of us don't understand that on every level, right? Minute by minute, hour by hour, sometimes.
Absolutely. That's one of the little things that everyone has to realize is it's not the big steps in life. It's the little day-to-day things that get us through. And then as you were, talking with your children, explaining to them that we are uncomfortable, but we're getting it. We're uncomfortable, but we're finishing. And it's a hour by hour, day by day thing sometimes.
Yeah, this was my mantra when I had all these babies, because for 9 years too, my husband was on the road for 5 days a week. So I was single mom in it, and then he'd be home on the weekends and go, which we made that choice so one parent could always be home with the kids. But there were literally days where probably 100 times a day I said, this is just right now. This isn't forever. This is just right now. And I think it works with everything: work, physical, emotional, relationships, parenting. This is just right now. This isn't forever. And then 10 years ago when I started my blog, a new mantra was, what's terrible now is going to make a great blog post later.
Right. I love that.
Well, talking about great blog posts, I've been chomping at the bit to talk with you about this. I seen the pictures, and you recently went on a mountain lion hunt, which, for Mike and I, that's like one of the top, hunts to ever go on. I know Mike is an elk guy. His top one's elk, but I think mountain lion's pretty high up on both of our lists. Cathy, can you tell us about this hunt? I've been dying to ask you about it.
Well, and 2, you were one of the few. There were like 2 people that I sent pictures to ahead of time and let them know I got it. And you were one of them. So I'm just saying, you're in the fold. You're in the fold.
I appreciated it because I was so excited. I think I about jumped out of my chair whenever I pulled that up on Instagram, because you had really bad weather. You didn't think you were going to be able to make that hunt initially. And things changed around quick and in a hurry for you.
They did. So, I'm a city girl. I grew up in Milwaukee, came out to Wyoming for college because I wanted to marry a cowboy. Ended up finding one and marrying him. He is a fifth generation Wyomingite. So you were talking about elk hunting. He elk hunts on horseback. He goes up, 50 miles in, deer, antelope, big hunting family. And when we were dating, I would tag along with him on the hunts to prove like, psst, I can do this.
Right.
Hated it. Wasn't a big fan of it. I found out later I don't like horses. Now I know if I just hike behind, I'm good to go. But I never had killed anything. When we had kids, he would just go. That was his time in the mountains. I would stay home. As the kids got older, he would take them. I don't think I've been on an elk hunt like probably in 17 years or any kind of hunt. Even the antelope hunt, I'm like, take the kids. I'll be here waiting for you. But and it's not that I had anything against it. I'll help them butcher it. We do, take our own meat and grind it and all that. It just, I don't like being quiet at 5 a.m. and freezing my butt off. Like it's not my jam.
Right.
But I have a friend that I was meeting up with her and we were chatting and I complimented her on her vest. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And she's like, oh, thanks. It's a mountain lion I shot. And I was like, okay. That's my kind of hunt.
Oh, man.
And so I went to my husband, who I refer to him as the cowboy on the blog. So I went to the cowboy and I was like, if I ever go on a hunt, I want to do a mountain lion hunt. And he was like, okay. Well, so for Mother's Day this last year, he surprised me, he and my kids, with a mountain lion hunt. And of course, we had to wait until now to do it because it wasn't mountain lion hunting season. I got my hunter's safety because I didn't have that, because all I had ever done was shoot a raccoon that was in the chicken coop. Like that's the only kind of hunting I've ever done. And then we figured out what gun was the best fit for me. We tried one and it just wasn't a good fit. Tried another one. I spent 2 weeks going to the shooting range and shooting, going outside and shooting, because in Wyoming, wind is a situation. And iron sights, it doesn't have a scope. I don't like scopes. I just wanted to be able to do it. And I definitely practiced, and I've been practicing the right terms. I practiced shooting offhand.
Right.
Because with the mountain lion, that's probably what's going to happen. So it comes close. There's snow finally, because you need snow. We're hunting with hounds, and our guide who's taking us, who's also a personal friend, calls us and says, okay, tomorrow's the day. Wake up at 4:30. We'll meet you here. So we drive an hour and a half, almost 2 hours outside of the town of Douglas, Wyoming, which is a bigger town next to our tiny town. And 40-mile-per-hour winds, 14 degrees. He's like, there's no way. There's no way. There's not going to be tracks. The wind, they're not going to be able to scent. I'm so sorry. And of course, we know this is how it goes. That's why it's called hunting, not killing.
Right.
So we turn around. I even do a post on social media of the beautiful sunrise. And I'm like, that's okay. It was worth the sunrise. Well, as we're driving back, he's in front of us and he quick calls us. And his buddy, who's also a guide, is on the other side of the mountain and said he found tracks. So we flip around and we go and we get to where they can let the dogs out, and the dogs have GPS. I had no idea how many of us, I had no idea. So the
technology is huge.
It's insane. Like it's crazy how amazing it is. So they have a side-by-side, because this is real rough, rugged country, but also for all those people that are like, that's not real hunting. We still did well over 2 miles, but anyway, so we let the dogs go. They pick up the scent. It shows that they have the lion treed, which no one can believe. Like, are you kidding me? Between the weather, it's still windy. Like, this is this chick's first hunt, whatever. I'm going with it though. Right.
Right.
So we get the side-by-side to where it's safe to get it. And then we get out and we're running through the snow and the wind and the cold. And I've got the rifle. And we get to the tree where the dogs are, and the lion had jumped the tree.
Oh, no.
Naturally.
Right. Okay. We thought it was going to be easy, but no. So between the wind and everything, the dogs couldn't pick up the scent again. So we're trucking around all over, zigzagging, slipping and falling on our butts on the rocks and everything. And my husband and I spot what we think is the newest tracks. So we call the dogs over there. The dogs get on it. Boom, they're off. So we run as quick as you can run in situations like that when you're trying not to die. I thought I was in shape. I had hiked 5 miles in the mountains without breaking a sweat the week before, but it's different, apparently.
Adrenaline.
So got back to the
Exactly.
side by side, drive to where it says the dogs are. There's a cliffside, there's a big ravine, and we can hear them, but we can't see them because they're so far away. So we're out of the side by side and we're looking through the binoculars at the cliff, and we can kind of see 1 or 2 dogs like popping up there on the side of the cliff. And then all of a sudden, and I have video of this up, the guy goes, I see him. And so he was in the shadow of a cave, halfway up a cliff, all the way there. So what do? You start hiking towards it. Never in my life have I been told so many times, now, if you don't do this right, you could die. If you're
Right.
not crouching down enough, because he's on the cliff looking down. So we got to be careful about how we're going. I'm not sure how he's going to leave the cliff, but when I tell you to shoot, you better be ready to shoot.
Hey.
Oh man.
Keep in mind too, I've never seen a mountain lion in the wild before.
Yeah.
Never.
No
I haven't
pressure.
either.
No pressure there.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he said it was in the cave in the shadow, I still couldn't pick it up, even with the binoculars, but I had the utmost faith in my guide. So we're getting closer and closer and closer. The dogs are all around the bottom part of this cave on the side of the cliff. And then all of a sudden that sucker, he just goes whoop, and he jumps up and he Spider-Mans up the side of the cliff and over the top of the mountain.
Wow.
And I mean, I was like, that bugger's mine. That I had never seen one before, but to see him just be like, I don't know how to explain it other than to Spider-Man up the side of the cliff, and everyone, and I have no video of any of this because I was trying not to die, like with the gun and the walking and all that. So people just saw like the side by side, and then that, like, so much in between in the video. So, and then of course all the guys, because it was me, my husband, and the 2 guides, they're all like, he's huge. And then and we're trying to figure out, where did he go? And the dogs are trying to get up the side of the cliff and get to where he is. So we go back down and we go this way up the side of the mountain to try and meet him at the top. Okay. And we realize this might be more of an adventure than we think. And so my husband and the other guy go run to get our packs because we have enough food for a whole day. We've got extra salt, like all the things. So the one guy and I are scaling up the side of the mountain to go, and the other guys are back by the side by side across the gully that we already crossed over. And we stop to just see where the cat is, but really we're stopping so I don't die. The guy took pity on me because I'm like, so we're standing there, and over my panting, I hear the dogs, but they're not here. They're over there. And I'm like, are they, do you hear the dogs over there? And he's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like they're here. It sounds like they crossed over the gully and went back to the other side. And then all of a sudden we hear my husband and the guide going, they got it. It's over here. They treat it. Go back down the mountain, go over the creek, go around the corner, and we pop out around, a group of rocks and everything like that. And there's the mountain lion in the tree. And I do have like 1.5 seconds of video of him in the tree, because then of course they're like, put it down. And he's weeble wobbling around and the dogs are underneath, and there's no time to leash the dogs up, which you would normally do to keep them safe in case you don't get it with the first shot. You can tell the bugger's getting ready to jump out of the tree because he's like, I don't like this. So I am crawling through the snow so he doesn't see us till the last minute. I'm getting the safety off the rifle. They're like, you gotta kill it with the first shot. And so I'm like kneeling there, and it's 14 degrees and I've got my gloves off, and I pointed at him and he looks at me, and I shot him. And then I immediately, I didn't even pay attention. I immediately got ready to shoot again, because that is one thing we practiced over and over. And the biggest mistake apparently mountain lion hunters make is they shoot it once and then they're looking to see what happened, but you got to be ready to shoot again, because apparently they know who shot them and they go for you.
Oh, wow.
Even if there's other things around. So I am a good girl. I am a rule follower. So I got ready again. And like, while I'm doing all this, I kind of registered that I heard a thump, and then the other guys are all running, and I'm like pointing up to the tree again to get ready. And I'm like standing up, and they're like, he's dead. You did it. And so
Wow.
there you go. But we don't have
That
video
is
of me
true.
shooting it because it was such a precarious situation. I was so close. So my husband was ready to dive in front of me in case he came for me. And the other two guys had their pistols out in case he came for me or for the dogs. And
Right.
it wasn't a clean shot, but it was, according to the game warden, because as an ethical hunter, that's the first thing we did was take the lion in to the game warden so they can collect teeth samples. I think they take some fur
Right.
samples. They take down where you got it. This was all legal, despite people on the internet saying it isn't. So
crazy.
so I shot him right here,
Oh,
and
wow.
it came out his canine.
Oh, wow.
He was
So,
dead before he fell out of the tree. The game warden's like, "This is, are you like this?" He found pieces of the bullet embedded in one of the teeth that he pulled out. We're not sure exactly how that was a kill shot, but it absolutely was, and I'm gonna go for it.
head trauma. Head trauma.
Right? That's what my husband said. He's like, maybe the force of the bullet was like getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer.
Right.
And so,
Right.
Just
So-
an incredible hunt. I mean, it wasn't easy. I mean, the first time, it's the weather conditions, it's the terrain that you're in. Just an incredible story. I mean, I can't believe how exciting it was. That your adrenaline had to be through the roof.
oh my
And
gosh. Oh my God. And
and
I
you
can't
didn't die.
repeat, I can't repeat what I said when I shot it because it's not family friendly. But it definitely
Been
was
here.
along the line. So being a woman and being a hunter, which this didn't even occur to me because even though my husband, you probably could not be more alpha male than my husband is. He never once doubted me. He's always like, he takes our daughters, anything I can do, he can do, like that type of situation.
Right. Right.
There were so many men, always men, when I was showing pictures of my target practicing. Because again, I used my platform to show this is an ethical hunt. You get your hunter safety. You practice over and over with your rifle so you can get a good shot. Telling me that there was no way I was in enough shape to do this and that there was no way I'd be able to hit the target with a spread like what I showed them.
Hey,
So
you know what?
that may have
Haters are
been what I
always going to
said.
hate. Haters are always going to be there. They're just upset that they couldn't get a lion of that caliber.
Right.
Yeah,
Don't stress about these guys.
he was a big one. Again, you can go to my and eventually I'll do it on my website as well. But right now it's all on my social media. But according to the game warden, he was about 7 years old. So that's exactly the right age that you want. His
Yep.
paw was the same size as my hand, and he weighed about 140 pounds.
Wow.
Definitely a nice mature Tom. And
Yeah, he was a good one.
as Mike said, I mean, haters are always going to hate. And we welcome diversity in the outdoors. And
Absolutely.
we're losing so many hunters throughout the country to age that if we don't welcome everyone and a variety of ways to hunt, as bow hunters, we get a lot of crap over using crossbows. And it's like if we don't hunt the correct way that somebody thinks, they have something to say about it.
Right.
But as ethical hunters, all I want to do is have a quick, clean kill on a mature animal, just like you. And if I use a crossbow or if we use hounds or a different way, as long as it's ethical and legal, we're all for it. But for some reason, some people have issues with the way other people hunt, or you're not doing it the way I do it, so it's wrong.
Or it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. You got lucky, you did this. That's all BS. We're glad to have you in the hunting community.
You've got me. And like I said, my honestly, the most impactful thing for me for the hunt was how proud my husband was.
There you go.
I actually cried when he gave me the gift on Mother's Day because to me, it meant that he had the confidence I could do it because I know how hard these hunts are and how dangerous they are. And it was such an honor to me that he thought that I was the type of woman that could handle a mountain lion hunt and get it done. And then when I actually did get it done, like I joke, but this is the truth. The picture where he's holding the mountain lion, he is smiling 800 times bigger in that picture than any of our wedding photos or any of the pictures of him holding a brand new baby.
Oh, man.
That's teamwork. That's teamwork right there. 100%.
Yeah.
So
and the guides were so like wonderful and they had the utmost, never once were they like, are you sure? No, they were just like, good work. Like, come on, like never
Let's
once.
get it. So I got two questions to
Okay,
coincide with it. All right. One, do you have a vest yet?
not
And
yet, but it
two,
will be made. So we're gonna
okay,
mount the front half because I want him being like,
right.
and the second half is going to be made into a vest. Yes. And then I'm
Awesome.
going to use the claws to make some classy jewelry.
Okay. That's cool. So what caliber did you go with?
Oh my gosh, I knew you were going to ask me a question like that. Okay, so
I'm sorry. Sorry.
a 35 max, not a mag. Because a lot of people are like, you did it wrong, it's mag, but my husband's like, no, it's max. Does that sound right? Under
Yes.
one of the under one of the posts at the shooting range, I wrote like what it is because I made my husband,
Right.
I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. So, but like it didn't have that bad of a kick. And like I said, it was iron sights and just, you can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
there's pictures and I can get that information to you, but
No,
Oh
no,
no,
I
no,
shot
no.
the gun. My husband told me to.
No, that's cool. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, you and Greg just hit it. There's always going to be those guys, that say if you're not hunting on the ground or you're not hiking in 900 miles, look, yeah, we could do all that. Technology has come a long way. I don't have to be cold and wet. I'm good.
Amen. Amen.
It's not about that. If I can find the right caliber that I don't take a beating on, but it ethically takes that animal down,
Yep.
that's what I'm going to do. I don't love recoil anymore, but it's the same thing. I'm not trying to get beat on.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
it just sounds like a wonderful family, experience. And I'll just follow up with one question. I don't have to. Will you do some more hunting then with your husband and with your kids? I mean, do you got the bug or was it a one and done? I'm going to make my vest and enjoy it.
I've had a bunch of people ask me that, and I have to be honest, I don't. Most of the reason I don't go along on the elk hunts at this point is because it's his thing. Like that is his break from me.
Sure.
right,
Like, he
right,
loves me, but like it's good for him to get away, and it's so good for the kids and him to do that without mom being like, "Wear your gloves." Um,
right, right.
so I don't foresee me going on. I don't think so, but I reserve the right to change my mind. Is that
There
okay?
you go.
And
Sure.
it has nothing,
Yeah.
like I loved the experience. Like I'm sure you can tell as I was retelling, and even
Oh,
now, like I'm
100%.
so proud of myself. I am so proud of what I showed my kids and what I'm able to show the hunting community as a whole, that women, apparently that's a thing, are capable of. And I really am okay with educating people on why it's important to be a part of wildlife management in your state. I don't think so. I'll go in the backcountry and hike. Like we're going to go for a
Yeah.
whole week and go about 30, 50 miles in. But as far as hunting, I don't.
Well,
You're
you just
just
have to go
enjoying.
where that passion's at.
That's right. You're
Maybe
enjoying the outdoors.
yeah, but I fully, like my daughter, when she saw the picture, she's like, I'm next. And then
Yeah.
my 13-year-old son's like, no, I'm next. I want a mountain lion hunt. So
Yeah. You done
That's
started a
awesome.
whole new thing. You
yeah,
started a
yeah, we'll
whole
add
new
that
thing.
to elk, deer, and antelope and turkey
Uh,
and bird. We do it all.
Hey,
If you ever get an opportunity to come out east here and you want to hunt Pennsylvania, you're welcome here. And I know Mike would love to host you down in South Carolina. The weather's a little bit warmer than 14 degrees.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know for sure as I was sitting and listening to you guys too, Mike, where you were talking about the elk hunt, like we're going to connect on the back end here because one of my husband's favorite things to do is to make it happen for other people. He's gotten his big bucks, and bulls. He's done all the things. His favorite thing to do is help take other people. So we'll see if we can figure out a way.
I would welcome that. And for you just to even say it, I truly appreciate it. That's a lot of work. You think about it and just you throw a wheelchair in the loop of that.
You'd be
But
surprised what we can do. You'd be
hey,
surprised.
you got me, and I'm one of those guys. All you have to do is tell me, let's get it. I don't care how dangerous. I'm with you when you're chasing that mountain lion. You show me the way, and I'll strap my butt to a horse, and we'll be gone.
You had him at hello, Cathy.
Yes,
I had him
yes,
at Wyoming elk.
Yes,
yeah,
you did.
yeah.
Yes, you did.
Let's do it.
Well, Cathy, is there anything that you would like to talk about that we didn't? I mean, you're just such a welcoming person to to give your time so freely and talk with us. And, is there anything you'd like to tell people about your journey or anything else we can talk about today?
I think there's two things I'd like to wrap it up with. I made the reference to being a city girl. And you could not have been more a city girl than me. As in, when my husband and I started dating, I was 19, and I said, we're not even having pretend guns in the house because there's no place for guns in a home. Okay. Like, this is what the poor man
Wow.
started out with. Yeah, because where I came from, it was gangs. In
Right.
Milwaukee, like one of the worst for gang violence. And where I came from, you go to the grocery store for food. It was not on my radar at all. Like, I just had never been exposed to it. So what I want to say from that is, now I just described my mountain lion hunt and how we use wild game to feed our family, to feed our
Right.
community. If we don't eat it, is just be open-minded about the way other people live, whether that's you as a hunter and being graceful and respectful of someone that chooses not to live that life, or the other way. Be open-minded, have conversations, and come from a place of listening and learning, not my way is the right way and the only way, which I think we already touched on a multitude of times, but I just want to emphasize that again. And then, as a
Absolutely.
parent of 5 children, I just want to emphasize the importance of getting your kids out and about in nature. Even if you are a city person, get them on the parks, get them walking around, go off road a little bit, take that trip into the mountains. It doesn't have to be the freezing cold Wyoming mountains or Yellowstone. You can, go to Tennessee and walk around there in the mountains and hike with them. But just that, being unplugged, being uncomfortable, not sure what's going to happen next, being uncomfortable physically, being uncomfortable emotionally. There's no greater gift you can give your kids. And please, please, please hand down your hunting traditions and your outdoor traditions and a respect for working together with conservation and wildlife management to your children. I can't emphasize enough. It's a world where the naysayers are way louder than the people that are living it.
Oh,
And the
man,
more we teach them to just strongly be who they are without having to prove a point, the more they can share that with others. So I would say those are the two things I'd like to end with. And also, it's okay if you want to make a vest and that's why you want to hunt.
I'm waiting now, Greg, to see when she's going to run for office, because she's got my vote, dude.
Oh, I mean, that was so well said and
No
thought
doubt.
out. I mean, I couldn't come up with that dialogue, Cathy, in hours of typing on a computer. And you just said it effortlessly. And it's so true. It just rang so true to my heart and to my spirit. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. And that was just so well said.
Well, and thank you guys. I mean it. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on sharing that there's other ways, that you might be limited, but you're only limited by what you're willing to try and what you're willing to do, that there's ways to work around everything. I just appreciate the gift that your platform is giving so many people of hope, something to look forward to, something to think about. And I'm just glad that you let me play a little part in it. So thank you.
That was awesome. And we just thank you so much. Mike, do you have any closing thoughts for today?
Yeah, man. I just want to thank Cathy again. You hit the nail on the head. It's not always about our ways. It's about having an open dialogue, keeping an open mind. One of the most debilitating things out there is a closed mind.
Amen.
You could have any kind of injury or ailment or sickness coming into play. And, having that closed mind is even far more worse than any type cancer or anything we face. Because a lot of times those guys that are just that closed minded, they never go through that rehabilitation stage. They stay in that perpetual state. Thank you again for all that you do, not only for our community, but just the mindset, changing minds day by day, getting out of your head and home, and trying to teach tomorrow's generation. There's enough negativity out there. Too many people are stuck with their cell phones, or and here we are using technology to get around. But that doesn't mean we have to be stuck to that all the time. Put it to the side and get out and have fun. But thank you again for your platform, for allowing us to be just a small part.